one of the things that I'm most excited about is Tiffany and myself, Tiffany Blair, our COO, and myself are, after seeing what he's been able to do with businesses in terms of helping them with their revenue, increasing their revenue, because that's really what a performance coach does. It says, hey, how do we get these businesses making more money? We were so thrilled to see him on that stage that we immediately said, we've got to become coaches too, because we need to understand this for the attractions that we work with. We need to understand how to help them set their targets, which is what gets them on their way to their goals, and understanding, how do people like Grant and the businesses that they work with actually do these things.
Tired of outdated systems holding your attraction back?
Gatemaster believes technology is part of the experience, transforming every touch point into an opportunity.
Imagine seamless online booking, effortless mobile ordering, and data-driven insights at your fingertips.
Ready to revolutionize your guest journey and maximize revenue?
Power your attraction with Gatemaster.
Discover the future at gatemaster.com.
Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the attractions industry today.
We chat with some of the top leaders in the field and provide resources that will help develop your career in this great industry.
I am Josh Liebman. I am obsessed with the guest experience and helping attractions make that their top priority for success.
And I'm Matt Heller. I am passionate about organizational effectiveness, leadership development, and employee engagement.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and get ready for the Attraction Pros podcast. Hey Sondra, hey Jake, welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast. Sondra, welcome back. How y'all doing?
Thank you for having us. We're doing great.
Yeah, awesome event. Coolest resort. This might, I think of all the Florida attractions events, and they've taken us to cool places like this. Yes. The Trump Doral, this one is really nice.
Yeah, it is.
What is it, Sawgrass?
Yeah, we're at the Sawgrass Marriott in Ponte Vedra Beach. So we're just a little southeast of Jacksonville. We got a beautiful golf course out here. Really nice landscaping. Really, I mean, it's just a
beautiful.
nice resort. Yeah. So,
are either of you golfers?
No, I wish.
We're wannabe golfers.
We talk about it all the time. We're like, man, we really need to take up golf. We just never get to. We're so busy.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, what have you guys been busy with? What's been going on?
Well, I'll let Jake start. He had a really cool thing happen this year.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we learned actually, interesting stat that we learned was that, the attractions industry was hit 77 times harder than, 70 times harder than restaurants during the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. And we were not immune. We got hammered too. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. That was like the year prior is when we actually kind of acquired the company, and it just hammered us. So we were doing everything, man. We had second jobs because literally everybody was shut down for years. It was crazy. So one of the things that we decided once we took the reins that we really needed to figure out sales and marketing. We had really outsourced that for years and years and years, and kind of like we were talking before we started rolling was that we had relied heavily on conferences and trade shows, and we still do, but we needed to really up the level of marketing that we were doing, frankly. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you've seen that. Maybe you see Sondra all over, going live constantly, really on LinkedIn heavily. And a lot in terms of marketing and email and whatnot. But I ended up getting connected with a gentleman. There was a show that we were watching during lockdowns called Undercover Billionaire. And it is basically this premise, like they strip a billionaire of his identity, put him in a awful economic situation, and is the American dream dead? Can you make a $1 billion business or $1 million business in 90 days? And I saw this guy, Grant Cardone, and he did it. And he not only did it, in 90 days during lockdowns, he had COVID half the time, created a $5 million company.
Wow.
And I had early on, before we got married, today's our anniversary, by the
Yes.
way.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Yes.
That's
But before
awesome.
we got married, I had worked in private equity and I had worked with this other billionaire. And when I saw this guy do this, I was like, man, I need to drop everything I'm doing and sit at the feet of this guy. And so to Sondra's point, I ended up doing that. I went and started working with Grant. And this year, I actually became his number one coach out of 700 business coaches.
Wow.
Really took to heart his lessons, applied it not only in our own business, which we've almost doubled revenues now since taking the company over. Not quite, but we're almost there. But that, that's like 100%. That's better than Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
In terms of ROI. And I started getting actually, like I'm a numbers guy, so I've been tracking my own performance. And with my top clients, I'm getting over 1,000% return on the investment. So I actually got not only the Performance Coach of the Year award for Grant Cardone, but got pulled up on the big GrowthCon stage, which is the biggest business conference in the world. I think I was in front of probably 75, 80,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and up there with like billionaires and people like Ryan Reynolds and Martha Stewart and Jimmy John, and it was pretty surreal. So I've been very busy with that, and then obviously, as you can see, Sondra's been at everything, showing up everywhere, really trying to embrace an aggressive multi-channel marketing approach.
So can we, like we like to say, peel back the onion a little bit on that whole strategy, because what you're talking about sounds super impressive, but I know it wasn't overnight, and certainly it didn't take, it wasn't like there was no work involved. So I'm curious, like, if you could just give us a couple little nuggets of what that change was for you that led you to these accomplishments.
Well, I mean, I'll let Sondra speak, but like your intuition's 100% right. I mean, there's no get rich quick. But there is get rich for sure, right? And it is hard grind over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Like single-minded focus, tons of work, tons of, investing in yourself, like betting on yourself. But yeah, I mean, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say, like, one of the things that I'm most excited about is Tiffany and myself, Tiffany Blair, our COO, and myself are, after seeing what he's been able to do with businesses in terms of helping them with their revenue, increasing their revenue, because that's really what a performance coach does. It says, hey, how do we get these businesses making more money? We were so thrilled to see him on that stage that we immediately said, we've got to become coaches too, because we need to understand this for the attractions that we work with. We need to understand how to help them set their targets, which is what gets them on their way to their goals, and understanding, how do people like Grant and the businesses that they work with actually do these things, because it's not easy. Like you said, you need support. It's lonely at the top sometimes. It's certainly something that I've experienced for a long time, is just trying to find the right people to be around that share that mindset. In fact, you talked about mindset this morning in the session that you had today, because I think that's such an important piece that we're not talking enough about in the attractions industry. Is because I'll be honest, the amount of parks that tell me, like, we're good, we've been doing this for 25 years, it works, and you're realizing they're plateaued, but really when you look at a business's revenue plateauing, they're dying because they're not growing. And so we looked at how can we better serve the attractions that we work with in terms of helping them achieve their goals. And our mission is to help every attraction achieve massive success. That's the shortened version of it. There's a little more to it, but
Love it.
in order to do that, we had to look at like all the things, not just the technology that we're building, because that is a big part of what we do, and that's how people find us. But at the end of the day, there are parks that come to us and say, we need the tech, but also we don't understand the strategies behind growing. And that's what we'll be talking about today too here at Florida Attractions. We have a breakout session where we're going to be introducing some ideas around slicing and dicing, your existing revenue drivers, and then creating packages and having tiers that help sell more of what you already do.
So I'm definitely curious to learn more about that session and kind of
Sure.
those revenue drivers. But even backing up a little bit, you mentioned those clients that you work with or the attractions that have kind of reached kind of some level of complacency or maybe comfort with where they are, and they're not striving for growth. And maybe they've got the personal reasons for that. I'm thinking of that story of the fisherman and the investment banker. And the fisherman, he goes out and he catches the fish that he needs, and he feeds his family, and he plays guitar, and he drinks wine, he goes into town, laughs with his friends. The investment banker comes down and says, no, you need, a fleet of ships, and over the next, 20, 30 years, you'll build this and achieve massive success, and then you can do whatever you want. You could fish, you could play guitar, you could drink wine, you could, and so maybe they're tapping kind of into that wisdom. And curious, maybe kind of balancing that of, your goal of helping attractions achieve massive success, but maybe respecting that they have that level of comfort that they don't, that this is their family business, and they want to get up and come to work every day and do that and go home and feed their family and come back and do it the next day, and being able to kind of see the sweet spot of both of those.
Well, I certainly think that most attractions will do what they do because they do the experience really well. Mm-hmm. So in that way, in that regard, I don't know that there is anything that we can improve there, because many of them exist because they do what they do really well. But one thing that I've learned from Grant that really impacted not only us in our ability to double our own revenue was by realizing that we might be thinking too small, and that success is our duty. If you're a family business or a family attraction that's being run, success is your duty to make sure that is protected and that you are growing, so that you have generations to pass this on to, as we've seen with many attractions, right? Because I work with a lot of family attractions too. And I think that's why they like working with us, because we're also a family business and we understand that piece. It's easy to get comfortable, but comfort can be a dream killer too, right?
Well, there's also kind of like, it's important to think big, and I understand the balance. I mean, we've got 3 kids, and so I totally, you're right. But I think that when we peel the onion a little bit, and we look at it, it's actually more about about mindset, like you were talking about this morning. It's strategy, because if I said, Josh, you got 2 days, go get me $1,000, that would dictate what you do and who you do it with. If I said, Josh, you got 2 days to get me $10,000, that would change what you do and who you do it with. And simply by changing the target to a larger, literally a 10x target, right? It's the same amount of work. It's just the actual commitment to, like I was saying, betting on yourself and going really, really big that can change it. And so I think sometimes it actually doesn't create more work. It can create more work for sure. But I don't know that it necessarily does. And that the other thing that's interesting is that we started out, and it's in our name, Gatemaster Technology. So we're always going to embrace technology. But we've been around 30 years. And outside the amusement and the attractions industry, in software, that's like dog years. In fact, we are the first ones in the marketplace serving attractions. I think Acesso is an older company, but they weren't in the space.
Gateway.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gateway. So they weren't in the space. We've been here for a very, 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 very long time. And I think what we learned is that, technology is obviously crucial and important. But what is, when you really, again, peel the onion and you go deeper, what is technology? It's business logic. And so what we also have become is more interested in, like, how can we go beyond technology? And a lot of that is we've started adding different services. So when everybody was having a hard time hiring after this fiasco, and then younger people are not as motivated and all these other issues, we started adding managed services so we could help them continue to run the park. And we are like, hey, we'll help you with all that. We'll actually come in and run those things. And so now one of the problems is clearly revenue and engagement and renewals. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. It's like, how do we add value, right? So like, you're an expert in the guest experience, how do we get into bigger levels of exchange with the client? More commitment from them and more commitment to them.
One of the things I think is really interesting that brings me back to some very limited sales training that I've had is that it's really about the service, right? When you enter into a sales relationship and it's strictly about the numbers and strictly about the technology or the product, you typically lose, right? But if you start to build relationships and say, this is how I'm going to help serve you, maybe it's not today, maybe it's in 2 years, but you've built a relationship. I think that's where, at least I found, the sweet spot is. So I'm curious from your standpoint, since you're shaking your head, I'm guessing you agree with that, but like, how do you take that and even 10x that or scale that when you may be the one thinking that, but you've got to get other people on board as well?
No, I love that. That's my intuition as well. And that is kind of, the philosophy of what we've adopted too. and we teach and we coach. This is now a value add as well to Gatemaster clients. So just a slight tangent, there's this great book by the Gallup organization called It's the Manager. And the whole premise is that we need to stop with this management culture. You go ask any 6-year-old, hey, what do you want to be when you grow? And they're not like, not a single one will ever say, I want to be managed. But they do want to do something where they've been coached. Pro athlete, pro actor, pro singer, entertainer, all of them have coaches. So I think there's a shift, right? Like, I think coaching needs to become like a broad mindset that shifts in people, because if you just think about it, like, what's the difference between a coach and a manager? I mean, the coach really gives a squirt about what happens. Like, they're invested in the winning. So I do agree with what you're saying. The problem with sales and marketing, it's like anything. Any group of people, Republicans, Democrats, black, white, straight, gay, whatever. There's good people and there's bad people. In any random way you slice them up. Sales and marketing is no different. And there are highly ethical ways about going about it, and there are highly unethical ways. And sometimes people don't even realize that there is a difference. And so there's this broad judgment about sales and marketing. I agree with you that my job is not to sell you, it's to serve you. And if I give, like blow out of the water your expectations, and we haven't even really gotten to an exchange, you're gonna feel much better about getting into an exchange with me and developing a relationship. And those relationships are built on frequency. You've got to actually commit to showing up in the relationship over and over again, if that makes sense. So I agree with you 100%. That's where the actual hard work though comes in, is that you've got to get into that exchange more than what you think.
Well, if I can add to that too, I think for us at Gatemaster, now we're asking ourselves all the time, who's got the kind of problems we can help solve? Rather than who can I sell this system to, right? It's who's got our problems that we know how to solve, and it changes the way that the relationship that we have with those parks and attractions look, but also, we're now looking more clearly at, what is that measurable result that they need to achieve in order to be better at what they do. And in most cases, it is to buy the time back so they can be better at what they set out to do, which is create these amazing experiences. So that's what we're really trying to do, is just buy them time back through automated systems, through managed services, helping them manage the technology so they don't have the tool fatigue that we've seen. I'm sure you guys experience some of that in the coaching and training that you do with parks.
And now revenue coaching, as well as, do you know this? I'm going to totally put her on the spot. Do you know the average length of time that we've been with a client? We have
10 years. So we're over 10 years.
10 years. That's
we have some that have been with us 20 years.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I have some that have been with me since I started 23 years ago.
Wow.
So but the average is about 10 years. But I think that should be the goal for a system like ours, because of the way technology works and how much of a heavy lift it is to move to a system of this nature. You're changing everything: food, beverage, retail sales, online ticketing, front desk, group sales, customer, their customer service, season pass. I mean, it's hitting everything that it.
Well, that's why we instituted.
It should work well because you don't want to go through that again for a while.
Exactly.
Right?
We instituted a program years ago, and it's worked really well because of that. We're very heavily, obviously, relationship oriented and service oriented. So what we actually did, and this is our fault, again, taking responsibility for our marketing, that we should probably promote it more. But we have this really great program that we try to, it's called a competitive replacement program, which is basically us doing the Pepsi challenge. Like, hey, we will match your rate. Give us a spin. We are going to blow your mind. The thing I think that's particularly unique about Gatemaster being so experienced, 30 years, over 94, so it's 31 years, it's crazy, is that we really built the program on custom development. So it's actually quite a bit of a Swiss Army knife. So a lot of people don't realize how big and encompassing and what we can actually do, because we've already solved the problem for somebody, because we've been in everything from like water parks, amusement parks,
Festivals,
museums, festivals.
zoos, you name it. I mean, I can't really think of a ticketed attraction or experience that we haven't done over the years. But to his point, I mean, it was built by the attractions that we worked with. We worked hand in hand, side by side, sat behind counters, and watched that experience. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but Steve, our founder, was a chiropractor, and he would sit behind the ticket booths in the old days when parks still had ticket booths, right? Because few of them do anymore. But he would sit behind the counter and watch how their body moved, just to make sure that he could create something that was ergonomically correct for their teams when they were going to hit the buttons, and also working on what does that muscle memory look like for speed, because we needed that back then.
But he was a chiropractor, so he was thinking things of that nature, but he was also an operator. I think that's an advantage that we've had too, because again, being around for 3 decades, we've seen them all come and then fade away, and we're still here, and they just come and go. And one of the things that we notice is everybody thinks it's easy, but they have no operator experience. It's like, it's very interesting having children that are smart, and you realize intelligence only goes so far. Experience is like actually way more valuable than intelligence.
Well, and I think you see that a lot in this industry, where people really value the experience that you bring. And when I go talk to a client or something and we talk about my experience in the industry, like their eyes light up. Okay, you're not just another consultant that is going to tell me how to train my leaders. You've done this. You've been boots on the ground. Same with Josh. Josh ran Millennium Force at Cedar Point and many, many other things that gives him the credibility to say, this is what I've seen in your world.
That's right.
And that ties in with the technology of, like, if you haven't been yelled at by a parent with 3 toddlers on a rainy 90+ degree Saturday,
exactly.
Then it's like, tying that in with the ergonomics of just like, okay, that ties in with pressing the buttons on the point of sale.
Right. I mean, she is a mom of 3. That's what she's constantly. She's like, because she loves amusement parks.
Yeah.
And I mean, besides the fact that
you are the consumer.
But the kids, she takes her kids to them all the time. She's like, oh my God, could you believe this? I was waiting in line. If they would have had wristbands or the mobile app, they could have ordered and saved them 20 minutes out of the line and all this stuff. So
because as you know, kids don't ever ask to eat at parks until they're hangry. So the last thing you want to do is hang out in the line for an hour with those kids.
Right. And that's the last thing the employees want too.
100%. Right. The poor employees don't want to go through that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Would love to tie all this into the session that y'all are going to be talking about later this afternoon. You talked about kind of slicing and dicing your options, and one of the things you said is maximizing or selling more of what you already have. And I'm wondering if we can go a little deeper into that and give a little teaser as to what you're talking about.
Well, I'm really excited about this. It'll be the first time we're teaching this session, but it's something that we often teach the attractions that we work with is, what do you have? How can we put that together? In fact, we just had a mini golf. There's one of our mini golf partners that has over 12 mini golfs. And they said, well, why do we need online ticketing? Nobody's going to buy. And historically, mini golf has not been bought online. So instead of just selling a mini golf ticket, we said, okay, well, we're going to create packages, family packages, date night packages. Those are the things that they already have, but we're just putting them together in a package deal, which just got a call last week. We increased revenue by $150,000 between March and May.
Wow.
And they're just getting started. They haven't even entered their busy season.
With no new capital investment or labor investment.
Just strategy, revenue
Just strategy, just revenue strategy. So taking what you're already selling and saying, how can I put this out there and personalize the experience? You know, a family pack, a 5-pack of tickets with meals and drinks, and there's all sorts of fun things you can do with drinks these days. I mean, we've all probably been to Universal where you can buy an all-day drink package. You know, those are the things you want to bundle your tickets with to increase the per caps, but also to personalize the purchasing and buying experience. And ultimately, we want to see how much more we can get on that first touch, because it's important. It sets the tone for the rest of the experience.
Yeah.
And even if, and this has been my experience as a mom, even if I don't buy all of the things on that first purchase, I'm still kind of on notice of what to expect, because nobody wants to show up, find out you got to pay extra for, you know, a ride, and the kids are begging to do it, and you weren't prepared for that. You don't want to let your kids down. That's not what the parks want to have happen. And as a parent or somebody who's in charge of the experience, you don't want to allow that to happen. So we also look at how do we present add-ons in a way that we're just communicating what's available. And so we see a 20 to 40% increase in revenue right there just by presenting that.
And I like you said communicating what's available, because you did not use the word upselling.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It's letting them know what they can do to continually enhance their experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people get confused with sales. And again, we were talking about like, how can you be, now, I don't even know if being pushy or upselling, I don't think it's unethical. It's just maybe unseemly. So I think sometimes
feels
it is.
icky to a lot of
Sometimes,
people, right?
Sometimes, but I think what you have to understand is that like there are these subtle nuances that can change the entire perspective on things. So like, instead of trying to be a pushy person, just try to be top of mind. It's a different way of approaching the same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got just a couple of minutes left for this conversation. I wish we could go longer, but we're at FAA and we've all got things that we need to get to, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, because it's fun. But I'm curious to kind of switch gears just a little bit. What are your favorite attractions? Whether they're Gatemaster clients or not, I'm just curious. What are your favorite attractions?
Recently, what is it? Fury 365 over at
325.
325.
Yes, Fury 325.
325. I got to ride that last year for the first time, crossing the 2 state lines. I just thought that was such an incredible experience. It was a thrilling ride. I still love the rides.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I also my all-time favorite is Guardians of the Galaxy. Over at Epcot, he knows because we rode it like 5 times one time. Which
Like
I didn't,
in a row.
which no one should do. Yeah.
We had a very
friend who
good
helped open it.
It's a great thing about knowing people in the industry. Right?
Yeah.
But like, man, my stomach, I still have flashbacks to
Every
like,
time we got off, they're like, "Want to go again?" And I remember looking at them, my family, going, "You only live once,
Right?
right?" Like
that's an incredible ride.
Did you get a different song every time?
Oh yeah.
So then you had to write it 5 times.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
that's
it's
what we were
amazing.
going for.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite. But I just in general love the ability to connect with my family, community, and then just seeing what so many attractions are creating that is so very special to each and every one of them. It's hard to pick a favorite, but those are my 2 favorite rides right now that I really enjoy.
I think attractions-wise, I would probably say the water park. I love the water park. I think that's the best for me personally, like selfishly, yeah.
Sure.
Because he likes being in a cabana with Wi-Fi.
Nothing wrong with
right?
that.
Yeah, like
Remote
like
office.
the thing is, if I'm going to be out in the hot sun, like I want to be able to go out in the wave pool and
Sure.
all the amenities and stuff. I love that.
Well, and that's why in the attractions industry, it's so important to have water attractions and big roller coasters and things that appeal to everybody because that's who's coming to see us.
Well, and it's to what we were talking about. Like you're really creating options for people because everybody's slightly different. So whether it's the ride that they like or it's the offer that the soccer mom likes for the kids, we're entering into this world where everything is so bespoke, everything is customized, and you got to lean into that. I mean, obviously, sometimes you've got to take the customer by the hand and lead them, because you do know the industry and you know better. But you also want to give a chance for them to pick exactly the way that they want as much as you possibly can. You know?
Yeah. So as we start to kind of wind this down here, if people want to learn more about Gatemaster, I'll actually even just jump in and say thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast. We've got the links in the show notes as well, but to be able to kind of give the direct kind of access to Gatemaster or to the two of you directly, where would you send them?
Well, this industry is pretty active on LinkedIn, so I think I'm safe to say you can find me, Sondra Shannon, on LinkedIn. I think you're under Jason Shannon on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Jake or Jason. But you'll find me. I'm on the LinkedIn page there somewhere.
You threw me off with a message a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Jason. I was
yeah. Well, because if you do the verified version of LinkedIn, they have to take your legal name somehow.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm like, nobody knows me by this. Like, it was a nickname since I was 12. But it is what it is. So.
Well, and thank you for letting us tell the world that that's how you find him.
Yeah.
But, and obviously, you guys are welcome to visit us at gatemaster.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for spending this time with us today. So great to see you in person and not have to do this on Zoom.
And happy
I really
anniversary.
appreciate that.
Thank you
and happy
so much.
anniversary.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You can always now say that you recorded a podcast on your anniversary.
Yeah, there we
go.
Special, super special. But for everybody out there who's watching and listening, just remember, we are all attraction pros.